Welcome to Part 1 of Simplifying Expressions with Radicals. To be good at simplifying radical expressions, you first need to know the properties of radicals. The product property of radicals tells us that when we have two numbers or variables, in this case x and y, underneath one radical, it can be split into two separate radicals like this. The quotient property of radicals is very similar to this one, only with a division sign thrown in. Once again, the x and y that start under one radical can be split into two. Now that we have an understanding of these properties, we can move on to simplifying radical expressions. A radical expression is considered to be fully simplified when there are no perfect square factors in the radicand, which is the number or variable underneath the radical, as shown here, no fractions within the radical, and no radicals in the denominator, the bottom part of the fraction. So as we can see, the square root of 4 is a perfect square, so that goes to 2. The square root of 6 over 2 can be simplified down to the square root of 3. And 3 over the square root of 4 can be simplified down to 3 over 2. Now, that is a lot to worry about, but after we've worked through a couple of problems, it will make sense. So the expression I have here is the square root of 9 over 25 times w squared. It looks like a lot, but if taken step by step, it can easily be worked out. So, the first step we have to take in simplifying this expression is using the product property of radicals so that we can split up and isolate the numbers from the variables. So we take the square root of 9 over 25 and separate it from w squared. Now that we have the expression separated, we can use the quotient property of radicals to give 9 and 25 each their own radical, instead of being under one big one. Since we've now used the properties of radicals to isolate each number and variable, we can now start taking care of the requirements of a simplified expression. The first requirement is that there can be no perfect squares under the radical. Now, this equation is special as all the numbers and variables under the radicals are perfect squares. So let's start with the variable w squared first. To simplify, the radical and the exponent 2 simply cancel each other out. 9 is also a perfect square, as it is 3 times 3, so we can simplify that down to 3. Additionally, the square root of 25 is 5. By simplifying the perfect squares, we were able to meet all other simplifying requirements of no fractions within the radical, because we took care of that when we used the quotient property, and we met the requirement of not having radicals in the denominator of the fraction when we simplified the square root of 25. Since we've met all requirements of a simplified radical expression, all that's left is combining the fraction 3 over 5 with the variable w, and we have our fully simplified expression. For more math tips, feel free to check out our website, link in the description, and as always, stay classy.